to reduce interior side setback from 20 feet to approximately 0 feet for the expansion of Knoll Crest funeral homes. Matter was published in the Daily Herald on September 19, 2023. And we have about 9/10 of an acre site in York Township. No objections have been filed by any of the departments of the county or various authorities to whom we've circulated the petition for comment. And I don't have any written statements from any neighbors. Would all of you identify yourselves, please?
Robert Sullivan, owner, Knoll Crest Funeral Homes, 1500 South Myers Road, Lombard, Illinois, 60148.
Okay.
Paul Bucama, attorney for Knoll Crest Funeral Homes, 15 Salt Creek Lane, Suite 103, Hinsdale, Illinois. Here's my letter.
Thank you. And then Ken. You're on mute, Ken.
Sorry about that. You think you get it right after all these Zoom calls, right? Ken Flory from Robin Schwartz on behalf of York Township. My address is 55 West Monroe, Chicago, Illinois, 60603.
Okay, and then who are the others that we have here?
Dave and Ben.
Who are they?
Dave is the architect and Ben is the engineering and design.
Okay, so are we going to hear from them?
Yes.
All right.
So I am, oh, go ahead, Ben.
This is Ben Busman. I'm with Webster, McGrath, and Allberg. 2100 Manchester Road, Suite B, Building A, Suite 203. We did the civil design and surveying for the project.
Okay.
And we've worked with Andy McKenna, the township engineer, to resolve any concerns that they had.
All right. Before we went on the record in this case, I indicated that it's not an amended petition. It's an entirely new case, but it is a matter that is related to a case that I heard before when I reviewed the materials in advance. When I got to the easement, I said, "Yeah, I've heard this case before." So I'm familiar. I will review that old record, but there's been an agreement by the various parties to adopt the old record in this case in order to expedite this particular public hearing. Do we have the docket number of that old case?
2266.
And that docket number is 22066, Knoll Crest Funeral Homes. Now, who'd like to begin to give us either a summary or an update or whatever?
I would be happy, Mr. Chairman,
All right.
to provide that. Again, I'm Paul Bucama, attorney for Knoll Crest Funeral Homes. Since the meeting in January, Ben Busman, the engineer for the project, looked at the issues raised by Mr. Flory in the township at the January hearing and communicated back and forth with Mr. McKenna to come up, the engineer for the township, to come up with an engineering stormwater plan that would satisfy their concerns. They exchanged a number of emails, one of which I forwarded to Mr. Flory, which he may have had, and to Paul and Jessica, where he approved of those plans. But maybe at this point then, Ben, you could explain some of the changes you made to the plans.
Do we have a new exhibit?
Yes, there was a new exhibit submitted.
All right, we'll add that. How many? Just one?
Just one. Well, so there's a new exhibit for the engineer plans and a new exhibit for the architecture plans because the size of the project was reduced from January. It's actually a smaller footprint.
Okay. So we'll take those then as Knoll Crest exhibits, supplemental exhibits 1 and 2. It'll be engineering plan 1 and architectural plan 2. I already have, I have some exhibits. I guess I need a new site plan. Is that the architectural plan?
Yes, yeah,
Okay.
the architectural plan, the first document, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'll take those as our 2 new hearing exhibits for today. And then just as I listen to this, I'm not an engineer, obviously. I fell out of bed in in my first couple of semesters of college trying to become an engineer because I was having nightmares of various engineering and calculus formulas, et cetera. So I had to go to law school as an alternative. With that interesting background, I understand the common sense parts of this, but I understand that the township stormwater department doesn't have any issues with the new case. And Mr. Flory, I'll let you remark after the testimony of Mr. Boozman about the position of the township, okay? And with that, Mr. Boozman, would you begin?
Sure. The concerns from the township, were well granted and, they're primarily about the water from the funeral home site draining directly south onto their property and just creating kind of a mess, with the hardwood chips, landscape material flushing onto their property during pretty much any storm event. So, the water was kind of bypassing the storm sewer that was on the property and not flowing through the pipe as it should have. And what we've done is, we're creating a barrier curb situation and to direct the flow into the storm sewer and adding some storm sewer piping, and addressing the grading along the south property line so that, there's probably going to be still some events, heavy events, where the water is going to overtop the curb and wash onto the township property. But those events will be drastically reduced. And we've created an overland flow route, a dedicated overland flow route. So when there are heavy storms, that it's directed in a manageable pattern.
Okay. Mr. Flory, do you have any comments or questions of this witness?
I'll make a comment and then we'll see if I need to turn it into a question. But the comment would be, we agree that our engineer has reviewed the drawings, the survey drawings. We would only request if there are going to be further specifications with a little bit more detail, the curb heights, et cetera, that those would be subject to review by the township engineer. And we'd also want to make sure, I think it's pretty obvious, but that the utility easements from the lot line are not, any construction does not encroach into the utility easements, because there is a utility line that runs along the lot line.
But I'm not sure that the county engineers will get involved in any greater detail unless we proceed past the zoning. So I don't think I'll get any more input from the county. If this is granted at building permit time, I expect that some of those details will be resolved with the building department and the stormwater department, et cetera. Am I correct about that, staff? Yeah, so would that satisfy your concerns?
Yeah, just as long as we have input at that stage, because obviously it can't contain every detail. It's just the survey drawings. It's got, but the devil is always in the details. We just want to make sure that, along with the zoning department review, that we have the ability to review and approve the dimensions of the curbing, et cetera.
I'll try to put some cooperation of the parties language in my, I can't, it's a variation request, so I can't make it conditional, but I'll put some language about cooperation of the parties as the matter proceeds.
And we don't anticipate any problems. I just want crossing the T's and dotting the I's.
Great, thank you.
Otherwise, I don't have any further questions from the witness, or any further comment.
Okay, well, that was the open issue. I don't know how much we need from the architect. You say that you want to just give us an indication of what you described as the reduction in the building?
Sure. Dave, can you give a
Yeah.
brief summary?
I'd be happy to. So what we have, I don't know if you have the site plan exhibit in front of you, but on the light gray area on the site plan is the existing building, and then there's 3 dark gray boxes. 2 are on the south end or the front of the existing building. That's showing 2 proposed additions. And then the change was in the back side. So there is a dark gray box on the back side or on the north side of the existing building. Right now, it's covering about 1/3 of the lineal footage of the existing back of the building, where before it was covering about 2/3. So we've reduced the addition out back. Now that is the addition that is going up to the property line, where we're going from the 20-foot setback to the variance that we're requesting, the 0-foot setback. Same request as last time, just less new building along that property line for the variance request.
What, just to refresh my memory, what's that back addition, the addition that's to the rear, what's that to be used for?
That'll be a garage, and then we are having some public restrooms expanded into that new space as well.
Okay. Anything else?
Nothing
I
further.
actually, I'm sorry, I do have a question, just to confirm with the architect that, because it's not entirely clear on the drawings, that the improvements will not encroach into the utility easement along the property line. Is that correct?
You mean the south property line, Ken?
The south property line, correct?
That is correct, yeah.
And then and then I also have a question about parking. I'm not sure who to direct this to, but we would request that there are informal agreements, I believe, with the church and the township about overflow parking.
They're actually an easement agreement with the church. That's not informal.
Okay, with the church.
That on record. Yeah.
Okay, I don't think we have that with the township.
The township is more of a, back in the days when there were senior fairs before COVID. Twice a year, we made sure that our parking was available to township. And on the occasion where a large, policeman, fireman, official, there were times where the reverse has been, and we've always made sure that we're not interfering with anything that might be going on at the township.
And I think we
That's
just,
always been an informal,
and we'd like to make that a formal license agreement that covers certificates of insurance and indemnification, et cetera.
those have been provided for years, and we always have, Ken.
We just need a formal license agreement is what we'd be requesting as part of this, because there has, setting up the parameters of when the township's lot can be used. Generally, we've agreed to during the weekends and the evenings. There have been some issues about during daytimes when there's a conflict between seniors who use the township and some of your visitors. So we just want to put that all into an agreement so that everyone understands the parameters.
Okay.
And I understand this seems to be another matter of cooperation. This is outside the scope of the zoning petition. Is that right, Mr. Flory?
Well, parking is subject to zoning, inadequate parking, I think so.
I have an easement for that. And that
From the church, but not from the township, and that they need the township's parking, I believe, to cover their usage.
Well, from a zoning perspective, all we need is 16 parking stalls to meet the zoning requirements. So it's, and we have 32 on the site. So as far as the zoning is concerned, we meet it. It's more of a practical matter for Bob in running his business, that there are times when additional stalls are needed for the larger visitations or larger services.
And there's a formal agreement with, a recorded easement agreement with the church for that.
I think from a zoning standpoint, I have what I need in connection with this easement. Now, this spillover occasional use arrangement between the township and the cooperation back and forth, that could proceed by a license agreement, which is not really a license agreement, is a license agreement because it's not technically a real estate document with real estate rights, so I think I have everything I need.
Okay, that's fine. We'll work that out, with,
Okay.
with Millcrest, outside of the proceedings then.
Okay, excellent. Good. Once again, I have everything I need. I'm ready to close the hearing unless there's anything else from any of the parties.
No further questions on my
We're
end.
closed. You'll get our decision, my decision, in a week or so. And it'll proceed to the County Development Committee and then ultimately the full county board. This has been around for a long time, so I don't know if there's any urgency to it. But I think it's gonna be November
Well, we're
before.
not gonna break ground on this before spring, so.
Okay, fine.
It's
And
just,
our county schedule won't hold you up.
no, not at all. I'm just eager to, that whole south perimeter, and this is like the third or fourth time I had to repair the berm. Because berms, it was a wonderful
I
idea.
just wanna tell you,
They don't
what I
work.
tell everyone, when the judge says you win, don't.
All right, thank you, sir.
I flatter myself to say judge, but it's an analogy.
Yeah, gotcha.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Mr. Chair.
Request for conditional use to allow an existing camper RV to remain parked within the 30-foot corner side setback, approximately 15 feet from the corner side property line on the rear driveway. This is a Winfield Township case, about 4/10 of an acre, serviced by well and septic. Matter was published in the Daily Herald on October 4, and I have no comments from any of the authorities to whom the petition was circulated. I have a plat of survey, which is exhibit 1, and a site plan, which is exhibit number 2. The site plan just pencils in the parent, presumably rough location of where the RV is parked, I presume. I have two witnesses, two people here. Both, are you the petitioners?
I'm sure not.
David Ross, I live behind it,
Okay, David Ross.
RSS.
And would you just state your name and address?
My name is Sharon Eckler, 28W504 Bulls Avenue, Port
Okay,
Chicago, Illinois.
all right, go right ahead. And are you a witness? Are you part of the petition, or are you an interested neighbor that wants to figure out what's going on and make?
No, I just don't want it where it's at right now.
Okay. Ms. Eckler, go right ahead.
Hi, thanks, and I'm sorry, I forgot your name.
I'm Bob Carthel.
Justin, nice to meet you, by the face. And I'm sorry.
Eileen.
Eileen, nice to meet you. So, I am asking for a conditional use because I have a drive, gate back there. And, the way that the, RV is parked, it is alongside, as you can see on the plat of survey, alongside my shed. It is in no visible sight to the neighbor behind me, beside me, or anywhere else. And I'm asking for a 15-foot setback from my property line, to keep it within, the view and the alignment of my property. I do have a survey there that has a pool on there. My pool had broken down a year and a half ago, and I do plan on replacing my pool. The way that the county had presented it to me, that they wanted me to be 30 foot back from my property line, which would put it on top of my septic field. And it would also impact, I believe they wanted me to run it north and south, which would be in the middle of my yard, plus on top of my septic field. And it would also be an eyesore to the community, as well as impacting the remaining property access and availability should I build out or decide to put something else in place of the pool. But I do plan on putting the pool back up. And I've gone around and collected actual petitions from my neighbors, stating that they don't have any issues with the way that the RV is parked. I only brought one copy, so I do apologize. But as many neighbors as I had an opportunity, because I do travel a lot for my work. That I went around and asked them if they had any issues with the way that the RV is parked, if it was an eyesore. They agreed that, you know, based on, the petition that I sent around, that my yard is well maintained. It's also enclosed by a 6-foot privacy fence. And, I'm requesting 15 feet from my property line, which is very reasonable. It's enclosed in a fenced-in area, up the rear of the property. And it's parked parallel with my shed within 15 feet from my property line. If I had to, move it 30 feet back, again, as I stated, it would impact, the remaining use of my property. It would be an eyesore, and I would also, be sitting on top of my septic field. And, you know, I'm asking, for your, conditional granting of 15 feet, and for it to stay within a hidden view of the public and my neighbor behind me, where it is not an eyesore. And it won't impact the value of my home or anybody else's home.
Is that it?
So far, yes.
How long have you had the RV
I purchased it in January,
of 23?
yes.
And what use do you make of it?
It is recreational, so I do take it out camping. It's a camper, so I love to go fishing and camping and boating and motorcycle riding.
How often is it parked at the property?
Well, yeah, daily, obviously, but I try to get out at least 6 times a year, if not more. Obviously, I just purchased it. We are cosmetically changing the interior a little bit to our own liking. You know, but as much as I can.
But it's, let me rephrase, it's regularly parked at the property. It's not the circumstance where you go away and live in your RV for 6 months in Arizona or something.
No, no.
Okay.
I would love to though, at some point in my lifetime.
How long have you owned the house?
33 years.
And what are these photos? You gave me some petitions, which I'll take as petitioners exhibit, group exhibit 3.
Yeah.
To those are attached 4 or 5 black and white photos of various vehicles. I don't know what these are for.
Well,
Let's take
I
one at a
actually,
time.
well, I shouldn't have given those to you, so if you'd like, I'll take those back. I stapled them probably in error, but the reason I did, bring these along is, for the purpose of looking at some of the properties around me and, other recreational vehicles that are around me and are not within, obviously, your zoning, standards. And some of them I don't have an issue with. Some of them I would be like, you know what, you got 6 cars, 10 cars, 12 cars sitting in the parking lot. It's pretty much of an eyesore, you know, or maybe too many people living or residing in that property. And, you know, I mean, some of these,
Well, I agree. It's not material to your case. There's
Correct.
other issues in some part of the neighborhood.
correct.
All right.
So, and, you know, some of the homes don't have a corner setback as I do, and my home is already 30 feet from the street line. You know, my property line is already 30 feet, and I'm asking for 15 feet from my property line, which I feel is very reasonable to keep it in line, and so it doesn't devalue the home or the looking of the home or the properties around me or any of that nature.
Have you made any other inquiries about the possibility of parking your RV off-site?
I actually did, and I'm actually having a hard time, being late in the year, and it's very, very expensive. I have not found anything available close by as of yet. I don't want to be honest with you, with all the, robberies, thefts, and destruction of property that's not in my care or my possession.
Okay. Sir, do you want to make a statement about the case or
Yeah,
anything
well-
to that effect? Hold on. You do. So, I'll note for the record that I saw that you were sworn in. Now, tell me your name, spell your name, tell me your.
David
address.
Ross. I live at 28W 501 Donald.
Spelling,
Ross, RSS, David, DAVID,
and, Donald.
Donald Avenue. I live right behind it.
Okay. And do you support, oppose, or are
I
you?
oppose it.
And you wanna tell me why?
Well, there's, three of us neighbors that live behind her now. I don't know. I know for a fact that they did not sign anything that's for the position. Or there's really five of them.
I would what?
That did not sign those that live behind her.
Okay, so there's you and 5 neighbors?
But there's 4 that live behind her and 1 that lives on the side of her.
All right, you can only talk about,
Me, well, I'm explaining that they shouldn't be on there if they are on there.
on what?
Her,
The petitions?
yes.
Well,
Well, I'm just stating a fact that
okay,
there's names that shouldn't be on there if they're on there.
okay. So you tell me what your position is.
Mine is, it's too easy for her son to move back in behind the trailer when he's hidden behind the shed. Now, there's 2 other spots she can put it if she needs to. One is on the side of her house. The other one is change the ordinance to put it in her driveway. Now, the side of her house is on the street side, which would be the morning side. She can put it there. And it wouldn't be in the way of her septic field or if she puts her pool back. If she changed the ordinance in her driveway, which they can, I think they can, she can park it in her driveway, which right now she has her other trailer that's sitting in the driveway. That shouldn't be in the driveway either. But your son lived in it this year for about 3 months until when we were in here last.
Dave, don't lie to this guy,
Oh,
okay?
I
My
got
son did not.
I got all the
live in it.
pictures.
Hold on.
Hey, I'm talking at you.
So I don't want him to make a statement about my son.
I got
My son
pictures of
is
proof
not-
of her son
You
living.
know what,
in it with
did
the pictures
have you been on my
and-
property?
All right, guys.
Listen, I'm not arguing with
Look,
her. I'm
it's
just
his
stating my case.
testimony, and you can counter the testimony.
Okay,
I get it. I'm not sure if it's material or not.
I got pictures showing him living in there with the lights on all night long. Him going out, peeing outside, going back inside. But that's,
Okay, well, you can't live in an RV no matter what I do.
well, he was. Now he's not, which is fine, because after we left here, when we were in here last, he moved out of there. Now, he don't live in there, but it's too easy to be hid behind a shed for him to move back in there, especially the way he is.
Okay, I got it. I understand your position. Do you have any closing statements?
I do. Everything that you just mentioned is a total lie.
Well,
So,
I'm not
and
taking
I'm
it
just-
as material.
Okay, good. And I don't, suggest putting my, recreational vehicle where he suggested, because one, if I had to put in another driveway or have the remaining use of my property, and 2, I would not want it in my front driveway. That would be an eyesore, as I do see other vehicles and RVs in their driveways, which is not up to code, and
Well, you
Yeah.
can change the ordinance for the driveway.
I'm not here to change the
Well,
ordinance.
right, you just, hear the case.
Right.
I understand.
Okay, so your position is, this is the most reasonable, unobtrusive, convenient place. Saves you some expenses, and the alternatives that are consistent with what the ordinance would permit are unrealistic because of expense, and what else?
sitting on top of my septic field, the way that the county wanted me to move it in the north and south direction, 30 feet back would be in front of my shed on top of my septic field.
Her
And
septic field's behind her.
Okay, I can't take any
All right.
more comments.
All right, cool.
All right,
and it would impact the remaining use of my property and for me to put back the pool and or build out. Trying to put another driveway is very expensive, and I couldn't even put another driveway in the front of my home, nor would I want to because of the way that it would devalue my property. And I have a gas line and some trees in the front. That wouldn't be livable. I
Okay.
wouldn't want two driveways. in my home. I don't know anybody else that would. I have a single parent, with a child who has, major disabilities.
Okay, I understand your case. I'll take it under advisement. You'll get a decision in the next couple of weeks. It'll go to the County Development Committee and the County Board for final determination. That's likely to occur near the end of November, given the schedule. It could occur first half of November. Okay, good. That's it.
Thank you
Close.
very much.
Gentlemen, it's 23,071. We have a variation to allow the finished side of fence to face inward instead of outward toward the adjacent property. Property is about just under half an acre in Lyle Township, serviced by water and septic. Matter was published in the Daily Herald, September 19, 2023. I have no comments or objections from the great majority of the departments, neighboring authorities. The village of Downers Grove has given me has returned the notice that we sent to them with a check mark that says, I object, with no explanation of the reason for objection. In addition to that, I have I guess this is the survey of the property, which will be petitioner's exhibit number 1. The survey shows a fence, at least on part. Do I have a site plan or anything? Oh, okay, so it's an existing survey site plan, which will be, again, petitioner's exhibit number 1, and then I have two-sided photographs of the fence showing each side of the fence. I'll take that as petitioner's exhibit number 2. Then a to whom it may concern letter. Oh, I read this letter this morning. It's from the petitioner. I don't know what, I mean, it's not common to get a letter. But I'll take the letter as petitioner's exhibit number 3. Now, I know Mr. and Mrs. Gilman are here. I note that they were sworn in. Would you people please identify yourself for the record?
I'm Tracy Erickson. I live on the other side of that fence, and these are my daughters that came with so they can observe and learn.
Oh, okay. Great. Well then, you don't have to be sworn in or identify yourself.
No.
So we had a case not long ago where a gentleman, there was probably 50 people that testified. And one of the neighbors wrote out a script for his daughter for the sake of social studies education. And I had everything that I could do since she was about 11 years old,
Oh.
not to inquire, since she had to be under oath. And there's quite an art to swearing in a witness who is a minor under oath. But I decided not to put him through that and just let him go with social studies class. So I hope there's one thing for you to learn.
Yeah.
In order to testify as a minor and take an oath, you have to be given a quiz by the judge as to what does it mean to tell a lie? What's the consequences of telling a lie? And you can go to jail and all this stuff. If I thought in front of 300 people, I would be ill-advised to get into that. Now, what's this case about?
Okay, so I built a fence, a 90-foot strip of fence, replacing an aging fence. My wife and I purchased it thinking that we went with horizontal, thinking that it was going to be a mirror image on both sides to avoid the good side, finish side problem. When it was built after the fact, it was not mirrored image. We thought the boards were gonna be, lined up in the middle of the posts, but the boards are, nailed in on my side. So that is, what had happened, and, it was. Once we got the, inspection rejection, it's just been. Waiting to talk to you from here, and sorry, I'm a little nervous. So it's just.
to be too nervous.
Yeah, thank you. But yeah, so it is, as it is, we're just requesting that you please let us keep the fence as is because the cost for it,
Right.
was,
And it was an inadvertent error.
yes,
And from the pictures, it appears to be a fairly attractive fence on both sides. Right? Is that the basis of your?
We purchased part of that
Yeah.
fence as well.
Yeah.
I'm the neighbor. And, I've lived there for 30 years. And every time we've done it, the side that's facing them has been that way. So when this started, I'm like, I don't care. We always take, I guess, what is the backside of the fence. And it's lovely. I'm here to tell you right now, it's a great fence from my perspective. So I'm just thrilled to death with it because the old fence was depressed and falling apart.
So you have no objection?
Oh, Lord, no.
Let's go, I've got a technical issue here in a moment, but let's go to the survey site plan. How far is this fence, which side of the property are we on? The south side?
yes,
And so you're the south side neighbor?
I'm the south side neighbor.
And how far does this fence go? The entire length of the property,
no, just 90,
starting where and ending?
from with the frame of the garage, basically right where the,
There were really faint hash marks here that I presume to be an indication of the fence.
yes,
Is the fence, as you go to the rear of your property, does the fence stop approximately where the back frame garage stops?
yes.
There's a teeny tiny red line, I think, on mine. You
Oh,
see
yeah, I
it?
Oh,
brought
so
my
they-
own copy here.
Yeah, okay. Oh, yeah, no, I didn't even see that. But I saw these hash marks, and then it goes to, as indicated on the survey, it goes maybe, right to the front face of the house
Yes.
Yes.
and maybe a couple of feet beyond.
I don't think that's accurate. I think you were right. Isn't it? It
It's-
doesn't go past you, does it?
No, it's right at the,
Well, no, look at this.
I
I
don't.
mean, I would call this the face of the house. Maybe it's right where maybe that's a step or something.
Oh, you know what that is? I bet you those are my bricks out front. I have a little, like a little wall that I keep flowers in. I think that might be what that is, that little flip on the, yeah, I think that's my.
Here's what I'm trying to do. If this is granted, I want to make a very precise statement of what is being granted.
Yes, sir.
And I'm not gonna allow this all the way back here because there's no existing fence. Therefore, the rationale that you've articulated does not apply to that. And I don't want it to deal with the front yard. So somehow,
Yeah.
can you, oh, we can take care of this internally. Once I know what this survey is trying to tell me. Oh, wait. No, that's 40 feet. Does the fence go, if this is the face of your house, right here. Does the fence go beyond the face of your house?
No,
No.
Well, it shows here that it does. See that? The little hash marks on the red line?
well, that would have been an error then on my part.
Did you draw this or did an engineer draw this?
No, an engineer drew it, but we needed to, we needed to resubmit, and show where the fence would be, so we resubmitted it, but I believe I overlooked that part, I made that error there. My apologies.
Okay, so let's, mark this as error. And then here we'll say.
I brought my own.
Now let's talk about. The difference between a variation and a conditional use. You publish for a variation, which is sort of higher level relief. I can grant or deny that. And I can also grant lesser relief without a new hearing and a publication. I don't want to grant a variation in this case because it lasts forever. So that if it's granted, if this fence falls down, you could build another fence that doesn't look like this, but is not required to conform to the ordinance. If, however, I granted, let's say, a 15-year conditional use with the condition that when this fence falls down, you got to do it right the next time, or 15 years, whichever comes, first. And that's my inclination, because I do think this is a relatively attractive fence. The neighbors are all in accord. It's a result of an error, and some kind of relief should be granted. But I'm not willing to do something that lasts 100 years into the future when this fence isn't going to be there in 100 years. So you will likely receive a written determination, which is available by email in the next couple of weeks. There's no hurry on this because the fence is there. You're not waiting to do construction. And then my recommendation will be transmitted to the County Development Committee, and then finally from the Development Committee to the County Board for their, what I hope for your case will be a rubber stamp, and we're done. You did presumably get a building permit, so we don't have to go through any of that stuff. All right, I have everything I need to know. Is there anything else from any of you?
No, thank you for taking the time.
I have a question. So you offer your recommendation as to
I make a
how-
decision that constitutes a recommendation. This is the only public hearing in the case. I'm the guy that's
Gotcha, I got
supposed to
that part.
conduct a public hearing.
and then that goes on to whom?
A subcommittee of the county board, which is called the Development Committee, and they deal with all, not fences, but they deal with all development cases. And then that goes up to the full county board. And there's two different hearing schedules for them. It'll probably be mid-October, mid-November that you'll be finalized. Okay,
Thank you.
just in time for Thanksgiving. Nice looking fence, by the way.
Yeah, thank
It
you.
is.
So what's the answer? Did you learn anything?
Yeah,
Was it interesting?
incredibly. The social studies thing was. She just turned 18 yesterday, so you don't have to swear.
I was small.
Yeah, so.
If it had just been a couple days ago, then I would have had to go through that process. Sworn in.
I had a really ugly case which involved children of not a zoning case, but I learned this 100 years ago in connection with two young witnesses of a woman who was a plaintiff in the case, and it was difficult for me to deal with that. But I was nice to them. We off the record, I hope. Shut down the film.